I've got another bracelet to show you. It's a netted bracelet. It's obviously, you can see it's quite a wide one. It's using 4mm and 6mm faceted glass beads and elasticity to give it the stretch to slip on and off. To make this, I'm using 4mm faceted beads and 6mm faceted glass beads. I'm doing it in two different colours just so it's going to be easy for you to follow what I'm doing. I'm using elasticity to thread it on. You can do it on different threads, but you'd need to then put a clasp on to finish it off. I just find the elasticity lends itself to making bracelets. We don't need any tools to go with this, that's all we need. Okay, to start off with, we want to thread 10 beads in total, starting with a large bead, that's a 6mm, and then the smaller bead, which is the 4mm, and I'm going to thread these alternating between the large and the small, and 10 in total. As I said, I've done it in two different colours here, just so you can see very easily which are which size beads. It's 5. I'm using a 0.5mm elasticity here. If you use it any thicker, it's a bit tricky because the thread does go through some of the beads twice. How are we doing there? I think that's my 10. Once you've got the 10 beads threaded on, I'm going to take the thread and I'm going to take it back up through the middle of these larger beads in here. Thread that through there and pull it through. So then you've got a kind of teardrop shape on the bottom of the straight line. Next I'm going to thread 3 beads, a small, a large and a small, which is what we're going to thread each time really. That's our kind of pattern really. Whoops, I'll get this one in. There we go. So that's a 4mm, a 6mm and a 4mm. Then I'm going to go around this one and I'm going to thread through the top one here. And this is what starts to then give the netted effect of the beads. Okay? Then I'm going to again add 3 beads, so it's small, large, small. And we're now coming back down, because we're zigzagging up and down the width of the bracelet. And you can start to see the pattern coming now. So I'm coming round and I'm going to come back down this one of this pair here. Okay, and then again we're going to thread small, large and small. And I'm going to come through this one here, coming this way. Sometimes elasticity can kind of grip to itself, a bit like cling film, while you're trying to actually pass it back through a bead that's already threaded. But persevere with it. Okay, so we've got those 2 rows done now. So we're going to come back up. So 4mm, 6mm and a 4mm. And we're going to come round and come through this one here. I've used faceted glass on this. I just find the faceted fits together quite well with this netted effect, but you can use round beads just as well. And then carry on with our pattern of our 3 beads. Once you've done 2 or 3 rows up and down, you can really see the pattern coming and you can see where you're going. It's always the starting off that's the most confusing. Pull it through. Okay? And then again, we'll come back up again. You can actually pull this elasticity quite hard. People often think it's going to snap if they pull it too hard, but it is quite tough. And you want to keep the pattern reasonably tight. You don't want sort of gaps in it, otherwise it's going to sort of be baggy and have saggy bits on it when you actually wear it. So I'm coming around the corner and coming through this one. And then we'll finish off this row and then I will show you how to add more thread, because with this thicker one you won't really be able to have a long enough thread to actually do the whole piece with one thread. Okay, so let's suppose that I was running out of thread, and I'm going to show you how to add some more. So as I say, it's elasticity, it's a 0.5 millimetre. I'll just cut myself a length here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tying a knot towards the end of this thread, leaving obviously a bit of a tail, but I'm not actually going to pull it tight, so I've got a small loop there. My tail end that I was working with, I'm going to pass through that loop, okay, and then pull that knot tight. So essentially I've got a knot with the tail end threaded through it. If I then slide, that knot will then slide down snugly to the last bead, and I then take my two tail ends and tie them together in a knot. Now this elasticity is a bit like the nylon in the way the knots can slip undone. So the best thing is, once you've done your knot, is a little bit of clear nail varnish or a little dab of glue on there, and that will just set the knot. And once that's dry, you can trim off the tail ends. I'm not going to do that just now, but we then carry on working with our new thread. So again, we just carry on with a small, a large and a small, and then you can add the thread as many times as you like. Some people work with longer threads, some people prefer to have a shorter thread. Sometimes with elasticity, if it's too long, it does have a bit of a mind of its own. And we just carry on with the new thread like that. I'm not going to show you how to finish it off. Basically, you carry on working in the same way that I've shown you until it's long enough for your wrist. Some people prefer them quite a tight fit, some people have them a bit looser. To give you an idea, on this bracelet, I've got about 200 of the 6mm beads, about 200 of the 4mm beads and about 100 of the 6mm beads, and I find that's a good size for me. Once you've made it as long as you need it, you need to have the two ends so they will kind of fit together a little bit like brickwork. So I don't know if you can see here, but on this row, on this side, that's going in and the next one's sort of bulging out, whereas on this end, that one's bulging out and that one's going in. And that's the way you want to have it, so that when you put them together, they join up. If you were to have them bulging out in the same, they're not going to fit together properly, so you need to do one more row up to get it in the right place. So once you've got them right, I just fold them in like this, and then all I'm going to do is basically with my thread sort of lace them together. So I'll start off, I need to put on one 4mm bead. Okay, then I come across to this top 6mm red bead and go through here. Okay. And that starts to join them together. Now each time I need to add the black bead to continue the pattern, but I'm threading through the existing red beads. So I thread on another 4mm, then I'm coming back diagonally to this second 6mm bead, through there. Okay, keep joining it up. Add on a black bead, and then come diagonally across. So I'm now coming down to the third row and doing the red bead there. One more 4mm black bead and across to the last of the red beads. Through there. So you're now pretty much joined up. The only thing left to do is the last 4mm black bead for your pattern along the bottom. Then once I've done that, I'm literally just going to tie these two threads together. As I say, you can be quite tough, pull it quite tight and join it up. And as I was saying before, a little dab of clear nail varnish or a little dab of glue will set that knot, and then once it's dried, you can trim off the tail ends. And there you go, bracelet done.